Now that we have taken a look at manipulation a little bit, it is time to look more at some of the tactics that a manipulator is most likely to use on their victim. We will start with some of the lower and less severe options and move towards some of the forms that are a bit more harmful. Everyone has gone through some manipulation in the past, and they have experienced it differently. But there are some similarities and truths found in each type. What makes the manipulator choose to influence people can be different, but the methods they use will be similar, even in different situations. There are many techniques that a manipulator can choose to use against their intended victim. Some of these include humor that is aimed at your weakness. Some manipulators like to rely on humor to help mask some of their deceptive behaviors. They may make some small jokes on occasion that may seem pretty harmless, but will be used as manipulation. For example, manipulators are good at joking about things that their victim has some sensitivity, or they may make jokes that have their victim feeling like less of a person. The point of doing this is so that the victim feels like less than the manipulator. They will belittle their victims to make the victim feel smaller and to increase their power overall. These jokes are going to be pretty small and subtle. If they made things too obvious, the victim would catch on right away. They may say things like, "Your hair looks nice for once." It sounds like a compliment, but with an undertone of an insult that can sting. But they say it in a way that if the victim says anything, the manipulator can just say they are overreacting to the situation. They can even make it seem like it is not fair for the victim to feel upset over the humor. Things like, "Just laugh at yourself," or "Learn how to take a joke," may be common responses. The manipulator is often going to make their victim the butt of a joke to make themselves feel better. They may spend their time pointing out a flaw in someone else so that they don't need to look at some of their deficiencies along the way. There is also going to be a grasp at power here. The person who is the victim is going to start to feel like their value has been diminished a bit. They may feel like they are just a joke, and they will soon begin to believe everything that the manipulator is telling them about the insecurity. Little time and a surprise. A manipulator can sometimes use the pressure of little time to influence others around them. They may add an element of rushing to get a final decision done, even in a situation that may need more time. When you add in the pressure and give the other person little time to make the right decision, it can put a lot of pressure on them. The victim is going to feel nervous and stressed, and they turn to the aggressor to get some sense of relief. In the end, this allows the manipulator to get what they want. A surprise is another thing that manipulators can use against their victims. A manipulator can attempt to overload the victim with something difficult to process. The victim won't have time to think of the right response, so it lets the manipulator win. Imagine that there are two people in a relationship. One wants to purchase a new car, but the other partner consistently denies this request. The manipulator may then show up with a new car, not giving the other partner the right time to respond and have the proper reaction to this. It was such a big purchase that the one who didn't want the car in the first place is now going to feel that they have to give in. When the manipulator doesn't give enough time for a good reaction, a manipulator gets to decide how the victim should feel. And they often pick the course that doesn't give the victim any choice but to submit to the manipulator. Exaggerating the facts and lying. A manipulator is excellent about exaggerating the truth so that they can do all the convincing the victim of something. They might say something like, "I could go to the store, but the traffic was horrible earlier on, so it might take me a bit." They may say this even though they know that the traffic was actually at a reasonable level. The manipulator is going to do a great job at making the truth stretch, and they have no problem stretching that truth, however far it takes to convince those around them of the lie. They will worry about covering themselves later on. For now, they will say whatever they need to so they can get the victim and anyone else off their back. If the manipulator can get a hold of any information, even if it is small and not that important, they will use it to their full advantage. If their legs start to hurt after they help a friend move, they will talk about the pain, hurt as much as possible, in the hopes of making their help and sacrifice seem like a much bigger deal than it was. They can then use this to their advantage later on to get the victim to do what they want. Manipulators are not worried about lying either, And since many of these manipulators can get so far into their delusions, it is easy that they will start to believe the lies as well. They may not even react in a rational way when someone confronts them about the lie, because they legitimately think that they did or didn't do what they are accused of by the victim. Manipulators are often shameless in their lying tactics because they can convince themselves that the lies are the truth, giving their victim the upper hand. The manipulator is very good at letting their victim feel like they are in charge, even though the manipulator is the one in charge. They will give you the illusion that you have some power in the situation. They'll try to get you to act in a certain way, but then say something like, "But you're in charge." This allows you to feel like you are in charge, but also protects them later if something does go wrong, so that they can't be blamed. One way that the manipulator can do this is when they allow you to speak first, so that you feel that you are in control over the situation. But the reason that they do this is because they want a chance to hear any weaknesses first. They can then take that information and build it into their argument. They often don't even listen to your thoughts and feelings when you are going first, because they are already busy planning out the next manipulation that you are going to do. In some cases, a manipulator is going to provide you with the impression that they are compassionate by merely asking you questions. But be aware that the manipulator isn't listening to what you have to say. They are already forming the response they want to use against you. Or if they are looking, they are just breaking apart the argument you are saying so that they can use it against you. In some cases, the manipulator might even invite you over to their home when you are discussing something. This gives them power that is to their advantage. When they invite you over to their home, it makes the victim feel like the manipulator is welcoming. But in reality, the manipulator is always trying to find ways to gain the upper hand, and this is one of the ways to help them do just this. It is always important to be on the lookout for manipulation in our daily lives. Many times there are others who want to influence and control us to benefit themselves. But when we know what a manipulator is, how they act, and some of the techniques that they may try to use against us, it is easier to watch out for the signs and keep ourselves protected. While there are many different reasons why someone may try to manipulate those around them, many times the same techniques are used, and if we can learn how to recognize them, it can make a big difference